Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. At noon today, we'll be joined by leaders of the Bay State Banner, and at 12:30, the Auditor of the Commonwealth will give us an update in person on her effort, backed by the voters of Massachusetts, to audit the least transparent legislature in America. Welcome to another edition of Live Music Friday. Here with us and ready to perform ahead of a show with his band at the great Charles Hotel's Regatta Bar, three-time U.S. Poet Laureate and William Fairfield Warren Distinguished Professor at Boston University, Robert Pinsky. And you might be confused why we're introducing a poet for Live Music Friday. It'll all make sense in a couple of minutes. Accompanying him today is multi-instrumentalist Stan Strickland, Associate Professor at Berkeley, co-director of Express Yourself, and that's a multicultural organization servicing emotionally distressed youth through arts. We'll talk about that too. Tomorrow night, Robert and Stan, with a few other members of Robert's band, perform Robert's poem Jazz at the Regatta Bar at the Charles Hotel. For information and to secure tickets, which are nearly sold out, so move quickly, you can go to regattabarjazz.com. But first, here's Robert Pinsky and Stan Strickland performing The Want Bone.
The tongue of the waves told in the earth's bell. The tongue of the waves told in the earth's bell. Blue rippled and soaked in the fire of blue. The dried mouth bones of a shark in the hot swale gaped on nothing but sand on either side. The bone tasted of nothing and smelled of nothing. A scalded, toothless harp, uncrushed, unstrung. A scalded, toothless harp, uncrushed, unstrung. The joined arcs made the shape of birth and craving, and the welded open shape, that welded open shape, kept mouthing, oh. The joined arcs made the shape of birth and craving, and the welded open shape kept mouthing, oh. Ossified cords held the corners together. Ossified cords held the corners together in groined spirals, plaited like a summer dress. But where was the limber grin, the gash? Where was the limber grin, the gash of pleasure? Infinitesimal mouths bored away. Infinitesimal mouths bored away. The beach scrubbed and etched and pickled it clean. The beach scrubbed and etched and pickled it clean. But oh, I love you, it sings. I love you, oh, my little, my country, my food, my parent, my child. I want you, my own. Oh, my flower, my fin, my life, my lightness, my oh.
Robert Pinsky, could you join us? That was terrific. And if you want to check him out with a little bit larger band tomorrow night at the Regatta Bar at the Charles Hotel. Again, it's regattabarjazz.com. Not many tickets left, so if you want to go, and I would if I were you, I would check it out quickly. That was terrific, gentlemen. Great to have you here. Thanks so much.
You know, before I knew about you're doing this together, I thought, why would someone recite poetry along to music? And now that I've heard it, of course, I think, why didn't I always know about this? How did this happen? Robert, let's start with you.
Margery, if someone had described this to me, I would have said that sounds awful. Sounds so corny. I started off wanting to be a musician. In my high school graduating class, I was not voted most literary boy, I was voted most musical. And I had the joy, I played mostly saxophone, and I had the joy of playing with other musicians, you know, local dances and bars and things. And I thought that joy was gone from my life forever. And then, thanks to Pauline Bilski and Rockalam Bob Moses and other people around here, with Stan, one of the first, I got the great pleasure of working with people like Stan and Lawrence Hobgood, who will be playing with us tomorrow night. And Lawrence was musical director for a singer who had used one of my poems as a... Anyway, one thing led to another.
Were you surprised when you first got turned on to this, that this works? By the way, I was reading a lot of your poems last night. I happened to have read The One Poem, and it was great last night. It was otherworldly with Stan playing with you. Was this surprising that this kind of thing works so well and fits so perfectly? Well, let me ask, let's say Stan, the instrumentalist here. How about it?
It wasn't surprising for me because I've worked with actors and I have a one-man play myself. But to be with Robert was a whole other level of, you know, literacy.
What is that level?
It's hard to describe, but, you know, we're doing this collaboration of words and sound and rhythm and all the things that are involved in music and poetry. But we're always on the edge of not being sure of where things are going to happen. It reminds me of the conversation you've been having earlier about this whole macho man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one way that I talk about it is that we are mesmerized by the hierarchy of the rational mind. And so we're under this sway of this idea of dominance, this patriarchal dominance. So all the stuff that's going on is really a logical backlash to historical things.
That's the voice of Stan Strickland. We're talking to him and Robert Pinsky.
You know, we described you, we should, and I made a mistake before, multi-instrumentalist. So we saw a couple of instruments over there. How many instruments do you play, Stan?
Most of the woodwinds, primarily saxophone, flute, bass, clarinet.
Yeah.
But one of my favorites is coming up. It's a little African thumb piano called a kalimba.
Okay.
What is it? We'll see it. We'll hear it. What is it? What is it?
Well, you know, in different parts of Africa, there are lots of wonderful percussion instruments. And I would say that the Shona people of Zimbabwe play an instrument called the mbira, which is sort of a keyboard that you play with your fingers and your thumbs. And the idea of it is to create this state of concentration and focus where your energy is allowed to ascend.
Can't wait. Are you more satisfied, Robert Pinsky, if I had said to you, can you go, I know recite is a horrible verb, can you go read, perform The One Poem, and you did it by yourself, and then you came back and did it with Stan, are you more fulfilled when you're doing it in that kind of combination?
The difference is much less to me than it might be to you.
Why?
Because I hear singing for the consonants and vowels, and I hear poetry for the music. The macho hero for me when I was young, and I'm very old, was Sid Caesar, who was a great, great seminal comic who knew how to make fun of alpha males and the alpha male sycophants, and he had it all. And in his autobiography, that great artist says, comedy is music. I knew what he was talking about. We have tomorrow night, we have the great Cuban percussionist Francisco Mela, and when Stan talks about long vowels, I remember the moment that in retrospect tells me I was not going to be a musician, but a poet. In Spanish class, we would sing, Ya las gaviotas tienen sus alas, abren sus alas, para volar. And I remember thinking, instead about the tune or the meaning of the words, that alas is too long, eva. Las gaviotas tienen sus alas abren sus alas para volar. And those open vowels of Spanish were what I was thinking about. So when you hear me read my poem, or when you read it in your own imagination, you may not hear the music as much as I do because I've given my life to it.
Yeah, you mentioned how old you are. Is Springsteen going to be there tomorrow night too? I mean, I learned watching you and Springsteen, you were born in the exact same hospital in Long Branch, Jersey. Is that where it was?
Long Branch, New
10
Jersey.
years apart. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a kid, so you're sort of a kid kind of thing, right?
Yes, and working with Bruce was not as different as you might think from working with Lawrence, Stan, Francisco.
Can I tell you something? I watched the video a long time ago, then I watched it again last night, and you as a participant probably didn't appreciate this. You would think, Robert Pinsky, pretty big deal, Bruce Springsteen, oh my God, he was in awe of you. Did you feel that? I know you can't say that, but tell the truth. He was in awe of you when he was performing your stuff. I mean, it was this incredibly beautiful kind of thing. Tell the truth. You saw it, didn't you?
All of the best artists of any kind I've ever met are interested in art. And if it seems as though we're being celebrity chasers of one another, that's not it. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I would talk to my friend Mike Mazer and learn about visual art from Mike, working with Bruce, working with the great comic and The Simpsons, it was not, I mean, the word poetry is sort of, gets a lot of hollow worship. But
he did perform with Lisa on The Simpsons, if people haven't seen that.
Well, I will mention, Lisa does know my work.
That's right. She does know your work. We're talking with three-time poet laureate Robert Pinsky and Stan Strickland, who's at Berklee College of Music, and he's also a multi-instrumentalist, performed with the Boston Pops, Take Six, Herbie Mann. You've also, with the Village People that are going to be at the inaugural, I believe, this Monday. But you also do something I found fascinating. Tell people about Express Yourself, what that is.
Express Yourself is a fabulous organization in Beverly, Massachusetts that serves youth with emotional, mental difficulties. And it's an intermodal, multicultural organization. Every year we do this fantastic performance at the Wang Theater, and everyone is invited, May 22nd. And we have guest artists like the Blue Man Group, people from Stomp. This year we have a fabulous drum group, the Drumline Pack, and it's a fabulous show. Part of our inspiration is to destigmatize mental health through building community and through the power of the arts.
By the way, you're performing, in addition to tomorrow night altogether, you're at the Wang on May 22nd.
Yeah.
May 22nd, yes.
Stan Strickland at the Wang. You know, by the way, I made a big mistake. When I mentioned The Simpsons, we're getting flooded with texts, so we got to play it. Here's a little piece of this poet laureate guy on with Lisa on The Simpsons. Here's a little piece of it. Here it is. We don't have it.
Oh, you don't have it?
Oh, we almost had it.
Okay. So,
technical problem,
well,
sorry.
if we get that, we'll play it. But I just wanted to ask you, you can imagine now in 2025, if your kid was going to college and your kid said, what do you want to do? And they said, I want to be a poet. And mom and dad would say, oh my God, get an engineering degree or something and do it on the side. How did it happen for you? I mean, you're a three-time poet laureate. This has been your career. How did it start?
It all has to do with music, and I never was an all-A student. When I was 13, I was in the dumb class. I couldn't do my homework. And I think my mom and dad, who had their own problems anyway, just that I was not in jail. They were.
Well,
they
New
were
Jersey, after all, you know.
Well, in fact, yes, my father's father was a criminal.
Is that right?
Yeah, technically it was the Prohibition. He was in the liquor business.
Oh, okay.
So they were not stereotypical Jewish parents who wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer. And they were show-offs. They were very good dancers. They were famously good-looking people. And that I was having fun. They thought I was playing music. I was still going back home to the Jersey Shore to play for a few months. And I would stink up the place for my comrade musicians. And I shifted to the poetry thing. I have 8 grandkids now.
Wow.
And they seem to enjoy things like poetry and music. One of them is a terrific, he's got classical and bluegrass guitar. And I think the emphasis on professional training, which is really seeping into universities big time, I think it's the kind of thing that wears itself out for individuals and in general.
We found the Simpson bite. Here it is.
Open your minds for the Coltrane to the Quatrain, the Tony Danza of the A.B. stanza. I give you the former Poet Laureate of the United States, Mr. Robert Pinsky.
That's pretty fabulous. That is pretty great. Hey, can you describe, we talked about a wonderful project that your colleague Stan is doing here. Tell us about this favorite poem thing, which I think is spectacular.
It's great.
What is it?
I think it's the best public art project there is.
Great.
Favoritepoem.org. You will see not poets reading their poems, not actors, not professors of poetry, readers. You'll see a construction worker reading Walt Whitman. You'll see a photographer reading a poem by Langston Hughes. People of all different walks of life, and mostly not particularly famous people. And we didn't create them, and they are that supposedly non-existent character, the American who loves poetry and knows poetry. So I can show you a glass blower. The Langston Hughes poem is read by, she was then a high school student in San Jose, California. She's a Cambodian American kid. Mm-hmm. She tells the horrible experiences of her family fleeing Pol Pot. So the human stories, and then those people, the construction worker or the MD or whoever, talks about the poem by Rilke or Maya Angelou or Elizabeth Bishop.
It's so accessible because you can see the list of poets, you can see the list of the poems that are going to be read, and then you see they're produced. The one with the custodian that I was watching right before last night.
The high school custodian.
Yes, I love that one. He shows him getting ready to school in the morning for the kids, and the kids coming into school, and then he's in his room with all the wrenches hanging up on the wall, reading a poem. It was great. It was just made it easy for people that think that they're intimidated by poetry, which I think some people are.
Margery, you said it.
Stan, what are you two going to perform in about a minute here? What's the next thing? Or you, Robert, whoever, what are you performing? They're looking at each other. They apparently don't know what they're performing.
Samurai
song. Yes.
Samurai song. I listened to Springsteen do it last night. He's not bad at that either. But
he turned out to know the poem very well.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Robert Pinsky and Stan Strickland, if you want to return to your place. Again, they'll be at the Regatta Bar with a bunch of their bandmates tomorrow night. You go to regattabarjazz.com. And as we said, Stan will be at the Wang on May 22nd. So you have two wonderful things to look forward to. I love Samurai Song, by the way, and I'm really dying to hear it.
It's one of his most famous poems, I think.
And here they are, Robert Pinsky. We should say Cantabrigian, because that also matters in my world. Robert Pinsky, Stan Strickland, doing Samurai Song. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Samurai song. When I had no roof, I made audacity my roof. When I had no supper, my eyes dined. When I had no supper, my eyes dined. When I had no eyes, when I had no eyes, I listened. When I had no eyes, I listened. When I had no ears, I thought. When I had no ears, I thought. When I had no thought, when I had no thought, I waited. When I had no father, I made care my father. When I had no mother, I embraced order. When I had no friend, I made quiet my friend. When I had no enemy, I opposed my body. When I had no temple, I made my voice my temple. I have no priest, my tongue is my choir. When I have no means, fortune is my means. When I have nothing, death will be my fortune. Need is my tactic. Detachment is my strategy. When I had no lover, when I had no lover, I courted my sleep. When I had no roof, I made audacity my roof. When I had no supper, my eyes dined. When I had no eyes, I listened. When I had no ears, I thought. When I had no thought, I waited.
You just heard three-time United States Poet Laureate Robert Pinsky. He's performing tomorrow night, and as he just did for us now, with multi-instrumentalist Stan Strickland at the Charles Hotel Regatta Bar.